Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 182, and right now we're talking, of course, with our regular guest, Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. He's the best guest I could possibly want to have on this show. He advises numerous high-profile sports books on MMA odds making and MMA odds booking, and his website is MMAOddsBreaker.com. And also joining us over the phone, also from MMAOddsBreaker.com, is MMA and UFC analyst Adam Martin. All right, guys, thanks for being with us. Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones, awesome fight. From a handicapping perspective, it's kind of tricky, right? The lines that I'm seeing right now, Jon Jones minus 170, Daniel Cormier plus 150 on the other side. That's at 5 dimes. Total 4.5. The over is minus 125, the under minus 105. And, you know, a bunch of kind of uncertain factors here, right? How is Cormier's knee, right? Is Jon Jones maybe regressing a little bit? Did we see some chinks in his armor in his, fight with Gustafsson? Then the other question is, how much will Cormier's world-class wrestling and an awesome ground and pound be effective against such a well-rounded fighter as Jon Jones? Let's start with you, Adam Martin. Jon Jones right now is a modest favorite. Do you think he should be a bigger favorite? The line's right on, or do you think this line should be closer to pick him?
This is a really tough one to call. Both these guys are just such talented fighters. Yeah. Really, two of the best pound-for-pound fighters in mixed martial arts. I mean, Cormier was throwing guys around at heavyweight, and since he's dropped to 205. He just looked like a destroyer. He slammed Dan Henderson, knocked out Cummings in like a minute. But, Jon Jones he's still the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, if you ask me. He's got that long reach, 84.5 inches or something crazy like that. He's so unorthodox, spinning elbows. He's got great wrestling, just good overall, keeps distance really well. It's a really tough fight to call. I'm leaning Jones here just because the reach, it's hard to ignore that. It's like a 12-inch reach advantage in this fight. That's really hard to ignore. He's also, I think, 8 years younger, which is always a good thing for sure. But like you mentioned, we did see some chinks in his armor in the fight with Gustafsson. He was taken down by Gustafsson, and Cormier is the best wrestler in the division. He's probably the best wrestler in the UFC at heavyweight too. So this guy could definitely take down Jon Jones if he wants, if he can do it. But if he can close the distance, but I don't know if he can close the distance.
Right.
That's the biggest thing for me. That's that reach, and Jones keeps the distance so well. He uses, he puts his fingers out, keeps guys away from him. That to me is the biggest question. But if Cormier can push him against the fence, he can have some success as well. It's a really tough fight to call. I lean Jones, like I said, because of the reach, but there's no way I would bet this fight. I think it's really, really tough to call.
Yeah, when I'm handicapping sporting events, the first thing I look at, even before breakdowns, is if there's a significant cause for concern with regard to injury with one of the fighters. Do you have a good read on Cormier's knee? Do you think that's a factor? Or do you think we ignore it and throw it out?
Yeah, it's hard not to ignore it. He's 35 years old. He does have a bad knee. He didn't get surgery on the knee the last couple months. Jones had an injury too, but he did, I think, get some sort of surgery for himself. But he's 35, and Jones. Someone brought this up last night. He throws that cheap kick to the kneecaps a lot in his fight. So he might be looking to target Cormier's knees with those kicks from the outside, and those things are nasty. So. Definitely something to keep in mind for sure. I don't know if it changes my opinion about the fight itself, but it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Nick Kalikas, a lot of times when you have a high-profile fight like this with a line that seems right on, you get huge volume. But sometimes when both fighters are awesome like this, maybe that could lead to less volume because it's just too scary to bet against either fighter. How's the betting volume been so far for this fight?
It's been pretty good. Now, the line's been out for a long time, too, so it's had quite some time to settle and to draw some action. So there's definitely two-way action and a lot of it on both sides, but there's more action on the underdog, Daniel Cormier, for sure here. So the sports books, it looks like if the action continues and the trend continues to go this way, the books are going to need Jon Jones, which is honestly okay with me in this spot here. I think that people are underestimating Jones a little bit here. I know Cormier is a beast. He's undefeated. Both these guys really are undefeated if you look at it. I know that Jones has that blemish on his record, but that was that DQ loss to Hamill, so you can put a little question mark beside that. These guys are both legitimately undefeated and both tremendous fighters. Cormier, as Adam just mentioned, he was ragdolling people at heavyweight. Now he's down to 205, and what he did to Dan Henderson, very impressive. But let's not forget, Dan Henderson is not exactly in his prime right now. Even though he could still beat and he's still capable of winning fights, he's still not at the point where he could compete, I think, at the level of a guy like Daniel Cormier, obviously. So take that for what it's worth, but Cormier has looked impressive, and his path to victory here is definitely trying to wrestle, get the fight to the floor. Like you said, use some ground and pound, look to just dominate position in this fight. I think he's going to have problems if the fight stays standing. Of course, Jon Jones, which Adam just mentioned, has the reach advantage. He knows how to utilize that reach advantage well, so Cormier is going to have trouble with the distance, I think, on the feet a little bit. And the crazy thing here is, even if the fight, if Cormier finds his way inside on Jon Jones, he's going to have difficulties dealing with Jones's clinch work.
Sure.
I mean, Jones throws some nasty elbows, nasty knees. So inside, it's a bad spot for Cormier. Outside, it's a bad spot for Cormier. The only path to victory really is Daniel Cormier. Maybe catching him. He has some power, and he's got some athleticism, obviously. Catching him with a heavy punch on the feet really quick, closing that distance, and, kind of landing a lucky puncher's type of punch on the feet, or controlling the action by kind of ragdolling Jon Jones, and who's been able to do that?
Yeah. So considering everything that you just said, and we know what an awesomely, well-rounded fighter Jon Jones is, does it surprise you a little bit that that the action has come in lopsided in Cormier's favor?
It does somewhat. I mean, because Jon Jones is definitely, like, most people do respect him. His lines are normally outrageous,
Right.
when we have to put him out there. So I was surprised the line shrunk to what it is now. I opened it at minus 215. So, and I could have actually opened it higher, honestly. But with all the respect that Daniel Cormier is getting, and again, he deserves it. I mean, and maybe I'm underestimating Cormier's ability to get the fight to the ground and to actually out-wrestle a guy like Jon Jones. It's not impossible, I think. It's definitely there's a chance he could maybe come through and do that sort of thing. But I just think it's going to be difficult for him. I think Jones is a pretty solid wrestler in his own right. Obviously, he's hard to take down. Gustafsson, a lot of people are going to point to that fight and say that Gustafsson was able to get Jones down, so Cormier should be able to do that too.
Right.
Stylistically, they match up different. Obviously, Cormier is a better wrestler than Gustafsson, no doubt about that. But again, styles make fights, and the matchups are just a little bit different. Gustafsson was a longer type of fighter. The way he went about his takedowns are going to be a little bit different. So I think it's going to be difficult for Cormier to get the fight to the floor. And if anything here, there might be some value on Jon Jones.
Yeah, all right. So that sounds like it's a great position for the books. They got high volume, basically balanced, but if there is a need, it's on the favorite, Jones.
Correct.
Yeah,
yep.
sounds
I
like a
like
great
the spot that we're in for sure.
All right. Well, Adam Martin, in other sports, usually when the public comes in favoring an underdog, especially in high-profile games, high-profile matchups, the favorite actually tends to be a great bet. You think maybe actually Jon Jones at minus 170 might be worth a decent shot?
Yeah. Reed Kuhn, who's on our website, in his book Fightnomics, he talks about that too, and how, like, the hype factor in main events, like, typically is wrong. Typically it is wrong. But again, this is just, I don't know, a really, really, really tough fight to call. Again, I do lean towards Jones, but myself, I'm passing on this fight just because I feel like there are better spots on the card to bet on. This is a fight to me that's like a dream matchup, and I see why people want to have action on fights for sure, but sometimes for me, there's fights where I just want to watch the fight and see how it plays out because I really don't know how it's going to play out. And for me, that's this fight. So I can see why Nick does lean towards Jones at the minus 170 price, but for me, it's a pass. I just don't like the totals. I don't like anything here. I just feel like this is a fight that can play out in so many different ways, and it's just not safe to bet on, I don't think.
All right, well, Adam Martin, I certainly understand your fear of betting on this fight at all. That's the way I was feeling, but I'm kind of thinking, there's just a lot of small factors that are sort of pointing to Jones. The betting action, right? Cormier's knee, right? Jones's overall, abilities. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe that Jon Jones at minus 170 might be a decent pick. Nick Kalikas, if you had to bet this fight, would it be dog or pass, or would you actually take a shot with Jones at the current odds?
No, it'd be favored or pass here. I know typically I can come on the show and I'm like, hey, it's a dog or pass situation more times than not. But here I think that it's a favored or pass situation. And we're probably going to get even a better number as we get closer to fight time because the line continues to drop a little bit. Yeah, so Cormier demands that kind of respect. And you know what? It's hard to argue with all the points that Adam just made, though, as well. I mean, I could respect his opinion and why he's passing this fight because we're dealing with a special athlete in Daniel Cormier. And it is always scary to bet against, to lay juice against a guy like that for sure. Yeah. And he can possibly come out there and knock Jones out. He can knock anybody out. I think, he's proven at a heavyweight. I mean, he's not known to be a fierce striker, but at the same time, he definitely has the power and speed and athleticism to knock anybody out, I think. So it's a possibility for sure.
All right. Great breakdown, guys. Tough inch. Going to be a great fight. And I think we're all slightly leaning to different degrees towards Jones here as a favorite. And Nick Kalikas says maybe we might be able to get a better number than minus 170 between now and fight day.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.